Welcome to Between Two Wheels, bringing you motorcycle news and entertainment on somewhat of a normal basis. I'm Johnny Roblox, and with me tonight is Uncle Ken, back from his winter vacation in Amarillo. I saw the snow. I know how much you love the snow.
Hated it. Every bit of it.
So I posted a meme because I'm an ass, and it was talking shit about Harley-Davidson and not being able to complete a race. Now, look, it was one of those things where it's just too much fun to poke fun at Harley-Davidson and stereotypes. One bike couldn't even start, and three others couldn't even finish. I'm just saying that it's hilarious. It sucks that it happened. It does. But wow. And I have to say something about this. I don't recall seeing any of the Harleys running full full lights and full setups, but both of the Indian Challengers, I believe, had full headlights and everything. All the other bikes were stickers.
Well, the whole sticker thing is so that they don't get glass all over the track. That's why you'll see them taped up, or they won't,
right,
or they'll be decals.
Right, but I'm saying, like, on this one, the Indians are running the full fairing, the lights and everything. You can see the lights on, but I didn't see any of the Harleys running it. I did like the fact that we saw the Trask bike out there in its full turbo glory. I think it took 4th place.
I mean, you would hope, but
look, that's brand new. That is a new step. Now, is turbo bagger racing going to become a thing? Probably not.
Nah.
But it was super cool to see our bikes out there performing at that level. And yes, 99% of what was happening out there were the people on the bikes. I fully believe that. And something else, I don't want to say that this was really a manufacturer versus manufacturer, because how much outside of the frame and the fairings, how much of those bikes are Harley or Indian bikes? I mean, you have to understand that the entire suspension was completely swapped out.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. I mean, they're all running chain drives. So they
were heavily modified.
Yeah. So I would say S&S, with their bike and the phenomenal riding that guy did. What's his O'Hara? Oh, something like that. The amazing riding he did, going off the track and then coming back. So I like seeing the competition. I hope it drives for more. And I did hear that they're talking about possibly adding 5 or 8, something like that, more races to next season, next season, 2021 season. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, yeah, it's a short race. It's more exhibition style, but I just think it's cool, and it adds that next layer. I mean, we have these in Europe. I don't think I've ever seen them here in the States, but we have the sidecar racing over in Europe. That is so badass.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
So
those guys are freaking nuts.
Oh yeah, I mean, guys are literally hanging off the side of a sidecar.
Yeah.
So I wanted to poke fun at Harley because they should have won. They really should have won that event. but the Challenger lived up to its name. And look, I hate the way the Challenger looks as far as the fit and finish. I complain and I bitch about that all the time. However, good fit and finish does not mean you're going to complete or even win a race. Oh, real quick before we actually jump into what tonight is all about. Special shout out to DeBeard, Gears and Gadgets, Baggers and Brews, and the rest. Thank you all for coming in. I swear this was not a clickbait title. I started writing this back in February, early February. And as our longtime listeners know, right around that same time, my mom died. So this got put on the back burner. But with all of the stuff going on with $1 Million Bogan and everything I've been seeing around that, as well as just stuff in the media about Harley-Davidson is dying and it's dead and they done all these things wrong, I wanted to research and figure out what was the day that Harley started to die. So this was written by me. The research was done by me. So if my facts are not accurate, that's on me. If I leave something out, it's one, because I didn't care about it. Two, it completely conflicted with my point of view and therefore would have ruined this entire thing for me. So I probably left it out. And three, and most importantly, this is for entertainment. I love the Harley-Davidson brand. I have a tattoo of Harley-Davidson stuff on my body. But let's get into this and see. We all look for when Harley-Davidson began to die, and I feel I have pinpointed the exact date. So this is our inaugural two-wheeled history. And today we explore that day that will live in Harley infamy. It's 1983. A certain Harley-riding douchebag is born, given up, and luckily adopted days later by a loving, caring family. I don't have abandonment issues. IBM is going to be releasing the all-new PC XT. Star Wars, no, not the movie, I'm talking about the Strategic Defense Initiative, is being proposed. The Challenger space shuttle will make its maiden voyage. And on April 2nd, 1983, Ronald Reagan killed Harley-Davidson at their own request by signing an order that raised import tax on all heavyweight Japanese motorcycles from 4.4% to a staggering 45%. This protectionist move was meant to help stave off the influx of Japanese motorcycles flooding the US market and drastically hurting Harley-Davidson sales. So how did this tariff hike in 1983 lead to the demise of Harley-Davidson? Competition drives innovation. No competition means no innovation, which leads us to today. You see, the tariffs only lasted 4 full years, which over that time, the tariff hike would steadily decrease back to its 4.5 or 4.4%. The problem here is Harley rested instead of making their bikes better. Here are some highlights of the 1980s. 1984, the Evo motor is introduced. 1986, the Heritage Softail is released. 1987, Harley-Davidson goes public again. 1988, the Springer front end or the front suspension is reintroduced on none other than the Springer Softail, as well as the introduction of the Sportster 1200. Now, we have to look at what was actually happening in the early to mid 80s. Harley-Davidson had bought themselves back from the evil AMF. So they had to do work. They had to get something going. But they couldn't rebuild and get themselves out of a hole without the help of Ronald Reagan. So let's look at the 90s. Now, the tariff at this point is back down to 4.4% on Japanese heavyweight motorcycles. And in 1990, Harley-Davidson released the Fat Boy. And it was an instant success. Things started looking good. 1994, Harley-Davidson tries their hand at superbike racing with the VR1000, which was a dual overhead cam liquid-cooled sports bike. 1995, the Ultra Classic Electric Glide becomes the first production Harley with fuel injection. And in 1999, both the Touring and the Dyna families get the Twin Cam 88. Again, not much going on in the form of innovations. Bikes still came stock with a carburetor. Fuel injection was an option on some models. ABS was 3 letters that didn't exist in Harley-Davidson's glossary, and it took 15 years to upgrade to a new engine design, which is still air-cooled. Maybe the new millennium will bring some excitement. The year 2000. The Softail Deuce is released. 2002, V-Rod is introduced with a revolutionary engine designed by Porsche. The first production Harley-Davidson to combine overhead cams, electronic fuel injection, and liquid cooling. And it's also the most powerful machine Harley has produced. 2003 and 2004, we start seeing Buell releasing the Firebolt and the Lightning. The Sportster finally gets a redesign in 2004, which included rubber-mounted drivetrain, some frame upgrades, and a fatter rear tire. 2006, we see the introduction of the 6-speed transmission for the Dyna. Also, the Street Glide gets released. 2008, 2009, we see the touring models finally get the much-needed frame upgrade, which allowed them to actually compete with their other performance baggers that the police departments used. Now, during the same time period, Japanese companies like Honda created entire motorcycle segments. Honda is noted for defining touring bikes with the 1980 Goldwing GL 1100, which is the most popular touring bike ever. Period. More Goldwings have been sold than any other touring bike. So there's that. But that's not all. They also built race bikes that actually won against other manufacturers. And Honda cranked out some of the most important motorcycles of our time. The CBR 600, the VFR 750, the Sabre and the Magna. I give them props because they had what is now a standard V4 engine. Also in the 1980s, Honda released the first production motorcycle with fuel injection, the 1982 CX500 Turbo here in the United States. Honda wasn't the only manufacturer making waves, though. Yamaha dropped the VMAX in 1985, which, if you aren't aware, was the highest horsepower rating for a cruiser, with 145 claimed brake horsepower. 1983 marked BMW's move into liquid-cooled motors, which they haven't turned back since. And 1988, BMW puts ABS on a motorcycle for the first time. So what? These comparisons don't mean Harley was wasting away. However, Japanese and European manufacturers were attacking Harley where they knew Harley-Davidson couldn't compete everywhere except the heavyweight cruisers. Yes, there were some out there that took little nibbles here and there from Harley market share, but they weren't big time. As Harley continued through the 80s and into the 90s, they hadn't made any strides in changing the opinion of the public about Harley-Davidson. You see, their products were so terrible in the 70s, nobody really gave any thought to the company. I like to sum up the 80s as the recovery decade. They threw AMF out, and now they had to make things better. Evo to the rescue? No, it still leaked. It was still underpowered, and it was still air-cooled. The 1990s was the time period I call the resurgence for Harley. It was during this time that Harley-Davidson was controlling the supply, creating a higher demand for their motorcycles. People were getting on waiting lists to purchase. You fuckers, you just totally messed me up. Ken, I looked at you. I took my eyes off the screen. You're laughing about something.
I'm engaged in the chat over here.
Oh yeah, is it getting good?
See, I got you over here working, so I can talk to the guys in the chat now a little bit easier.
Okay. Resurgence, Harley. Okay, yes. I'm trying to get through this, man. It took me 8 months to write it. So yes, the higher demand, the waiting lists to purchase the Harleys, Hog was really taking off, driving more awareness for the brand. The 2000s was the technological age for Harley. EFI comes in, touring bikes receive better sound systems. Harley was sponsoring television shows, the V-Rod. And for the first 8 years of the new millennium, Harley was on track to be great again. Until Harley's biggest nemesis rears its ugly head, recession. You see, Harley likes to tout that they are a luxury brand, and the high price you are paying for their bikes equates to the insanely high quality of product you're receiving. However, people shop with their wallets, not with what has historically been subpar products at insane prices. Harley tanked. Is it all Harley's fault? Let's talk about perceived value. Literal definition here, folks. Perceived value is the customer's evaluation of the merits of a product or service and its ability to meet their needs and expectations, especially in comparison with its peers. Now, if we just look at spec sheets, not images of the motorcycles, if you take a Harley spec sheet and compare it to a rival's spec sheet, your perceived value will more than likely lead you to the non-Harley. Why? On paper, most bikes appear better than Harley-Davidson when you're doing apples to apples. From performance to handling, braking, etc. In our age of the instant digital gratification, we are able to stand at a dealership, whip out our pocket-sized supercomputer, and do a comparison of the stats. No, I was not going there, Ken. I knew you thought I was going to, but I didn't go there.
I was waiting for it.
Now, we know today that India and Harley compete on pricing. So if you're looking at $25,000 motorcycle, you're going to compare what you get from Harley and what you get from Indian. This is why, in my opinion, April 2nd, 1983 was the day Harley died. Perceived value is not a company's fault. It is the consumer's fault because we have a perception. It is this product that's going to do this, and I want to do this. Oh, this other product does the same thing? Okay, which is perceived to be a better value. It's like pricing something $24,999. The perceived value is better than $25,000. It's all in how we look at it. So in conclusion, Harley had a golden opportunity on that fateful day to start focusing on not just bandaging the wounds of the AMF years, but to also increase the perceived value of their luxury brand. The early 2000s saw a lot of risks being taken, risks that could have turned out great for Harley, but they listened to their hardened supporters and not the market as a whole. If a company wants to grow, they have to listen to the people who aren't already die-hard customers and pay more attention to the majority of, in this case, riders that are not currently straddling the two-wheeled thunder that is Harley-Davidson. We know the date that Harley died, but are they actually dying? Well, yes, hopefully. You see, we need the old Harley to die to make room for a new and improved Harley. We need the early 2000s risk-taking to come back, and we are sort of seeing it with the Pan America, the Bronx, and the custom that is TBD. We need to see advertisements like the one from 2008 that read, "Over the 105 years in the saddle, we've seen wars, depression, recession, resistance, and revolutions. But every time, this country has come out stronger than before because chrome and asphalt put distance between you and whatever the world can throw at you. Freedom and wind outlast hard times, and the rumble of an engine drowns out all the spin on the evening news. If 105 years have proved one thing, it's that fear sucks and doesn't last long. So screw it. Let's ride." Can I get an amen? Come on. That was beautiful way to spark a rally cry. They even had bandanas that came out and said, "Screw it, let's ride." Now, honestly, this rally cry and even the fancy bandanas that they gave away never brought them back from pre-recession days, but they still had heart. They still felt like they could conquer the world. They thought terribly wrong, and they have been paying for it for the past 12 years. And with Zeitz at the helm, let's hope that the old Harley ways die a glorious death, and let's usher in a rebirth, or perhaps even a rewire of the new and improved Harley-Davidson Motor Company. There you go.
Well done.
You know, I enjoyed writing this. Now, I don't like doing scripted stuff, but in this one, I didn't have a choice. And yeah, this was a very fun article, script, whatever to write, because people don't stop and think about what happened in the past, what precedents have been set.
You know? Oh, well, no. I mean, Harley got what they wanted.
Well, let's also look at what Harley did through the Federal Trade Commission, because that's what they have. It's the Mangoes for Motorcycles deal when they moved into India. drop the export or the import tax on mangoes, and they would not tax the shit out of the Harley-Davidson motorcycles. And by the time that deal had ran its course, Harley had already opened the plant in India. So now they didn't have to worry about those taxes anymore.
Yeah.
So there's a long running precedence of American brands that are, I hate to kind of catch the buzz term, but the all American brands that when our government protects them and we get into, I don't know, trade wars, our all American brands get punished because a lot of the tariffs are retaliatory.
Well, yeah. I mean, Harley asked for it. They wanted it, and they got it. But is it what they really wanted in the long run?
I don't think that tariff actually helped Harley in any way.
I don't think it helped them a single bit.
I mean, if we still look, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, BMW, Ducati, all of these other brands were still doing great in America. And they were all producing 700s and above.
Yeah, they never stopped.
Well, in the 80s, we saw a break in the 700 cc's and above. They did not sell a lot of those because the tax was on it. But they made up for it by selling all their other 650s for significantly less, and they built a following.
Oh yeah, and then they just built them, and then they built them better. If they knew that if they were going to get their ass handed to them, financially for hitting that 700 mark or higher, then hey, let's make this 650 just a little bit better without it being a 700.
Yeah, and they do that. Everyone does it, but
I've all along, these sport bikes, crotch rockets, they do everything they can to wring every ounce of speed out of those motors.
But they're able to do that because the Japanese companies created the segments in the market.
Yeah, they
were brilliant. Honda, other than the touring, they were also responsible for enduro, big time responsibility for off-road. I mean, so many. They didn't really care about the cruisers.
I mean,
as you started seeing the import tax coming down, because it was stepped down gradually, but 1985, year 2, there's only a 20% tax on imported heavyweight Japanese motorcycles, hence the VMAX. So Harley spent countless years fostering the baby boomers, creating that outlaw mentality, that outlaw lifestyle, and created a counterculture. Unfortunately, they did not take into consideration millennials, people who don't want to be Billy badasses, people who want to be proud of their thoughts of the environment and their social responsibilities. Harley never planned for that. They're doing some good with the live wire and these electric bicycles, but that's too little. They need to have, and we've talked about this in the past, they need to have a Scion. They need to have some type of Harley version of a Scion. I don't know, maybe Buell.
Yeah, you're just talking weird now, man.
And then fund it. Give them the right R&D, give them the money, give them the marketing to go after the right audience. It's not difficult, but again, die-hard Harley-Davidson owners were allowed to drive the motor company. And look, are you going to want to listen to a group of people who have probably already bought their last new motorcycle? Or do you want to talk to a bunch of people who have never ridden your motorcycle? Tell them what they get, the quality of steel versus aluminum, or whatever you want to go after, but market to them. And I think if Harley doesn't want to upset their core demographic, they are going to have an offshoot brand. And I'm not saying bring Eric Buell back. God, do not do that. Unless he's a designer only.
I mean, he wasn't a terrible guy.
He's a great designer, just 99% designer. He doesn't quite get all the way complete.
Well, that's why they have teams now.
Yes, but beautiful mind when it comes to engineering. Just don't let him run the business at all.
And sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah. It's kind of like watching Will Smith's son. Some people are made to be actors. He is not one of them.
I can agree with that.
As soon as I see his name in the thing, I'm just like, oh, I will not watch that. Especially if it has Will Smith in it too, because that's just horrible. How did father and son have that shitty of chemistry? Okay, this is a motorcycle channel. I'm sorry, y'all. But yeah, look, all the stuff we're hearing about Harley doing, we have to look at it from where they are today, where they want to be in 5 years.
They want to be more rich.
They want to still operate.
Yeah.
And there has to be a change. There has to be that death of the old Harley-Davidson. And look, with Zeitz coming in and already shaking things up, I'm hoping this is that wake-up call that the rest of the motor company needs. And I hate the fact that Harley-Davidson's public. Now, I know that they've been hoarding a lot of shares because that makes their earnings per share look better, but they need to, I don't know, maybe go private again.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of shit they could do.
Yeah.
I mean, Harley has so much potential. Yeah. So this is Cam. And yeah, I can agree with that. Harley needs a Japanese designer to design them a sport bike, a super sport. I mean, I could get behind that.
But how does Harley operate more like Honda, more like Yamaha, more like Suzuki, where they can have very strong brand loyalty across multiple segments? That I think is what Harley-Davidson needs to figure out.
Yeah. I mean, Buell had such great potential. But they just let it get all screwed up.
Harley forced him to use a Sportster motor and not use a motor that actually made sense for the motorcycle. He still made it work.
Yeah, I mean, I rode one. Matter of fact, when I took my my motorcycle safety class, that was the first bike they put me on because that's what they had. Now, I wasn't comfortable on it. It was fun to go in a straight line, but I couldn't hardly turn because I smacked my knees with the handlebars, like completely. But yeah, I mean, the Buells it was a fun. What I did get out of it, it was a fun bike.
Well, they had a just amazing sport bike right at the end. 1125R, but that doesn't sound right.
So the one that I rode was the Buell Lightning.
Okay, yeah. I don't get it. Why? Like, look, not to jump back on the Bogan thing, but why does so many people jump on the bandwagon to fight the battle that it is not there?
I don't know.
You know, someone posted a comment, I think on the video, it may have been on Instagram, but they posted a comment saying Harley-Davidson did right. They did it in all caps. Check it out if you want on the last live stream, but it was well written. I got the gist of what he was saying. I think it was a he, but we can't fault Harley for what they did or what is assumed that they've done, because look, they don't have a relationship with Bogan. Bogan's free to post whatever he wants.
Yeah, I mean,
just don't do it with a Harley owner or the dealership owner or the franchisee.
Well, see, we don't know if it was, like I said, we don't know if it was the dealership that was saying, "Hey, whoa," or if Harley actually, sent them a message or whatever and said, "Hey, whoa."
Yeah, it may have been one of those things. Hey, you need to have yourself edited out.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't think Harley's going to die anytime soon. There's enough of us, fools like me and you that are going to buy their bikes.
I don't know. A win on Sunday is a sell on Monday. I might have to go after a Challenger. I might have to do some fiberglass. Oh no, I'm not going to do the work. I'll take it to Moose and have him fix,
smooth everything out.
Yeah, clean up the fit. But hey, performance is performance. Toby, good friend of ours. Honestly, other than Bry the Biker's reason, a lot of what I've watched is really just vloggers trying to get in on the viewer hot trend to gain subs. Accurate.
Yeah,
that is the reason I posted a video, and I picked up 18 subscribers that day.
In the week following, and yeah, so in the last 2 weeks since we talked about this, the Bogan issue. I've seen probably a half dozen or so additional YouTube videos get recommended to me, all in regards to the same situation. I didn't watch any of them because
I'll say Bry the Biker put out a great video, and obviously Dan, his video spawned the idea for me to do it because, well, let's face it, we have different opinions. And I like debating with him. He's not a dick.
Oh.
Hey,
damn right, Cam. We're rolling in the subs. Whoop whoop.
We're not a big channel. That's cool.
You don't have to be big to make an impact.
Clearly.
I mean,
and all I know is the motor company still talks to me.
It is what it is.
Saying. Okay, my sources are definitely not public sources, but like other, standard Harley riders, my sources are dying off. I have to go and try to formulate new relationships with folks, and that's really hard when you don't work there.
That just sounds exhausting. Talking to people.
So the job hunt is actually going really well. Dallas is now back on the table somehow. That's been a very unique situation. And I'm expecting 2 other offers coming in.
Well, that's good to hear.
One, no move required at all.
That's good. I enjoy that.
The other one is the last.
I don't want to hear about it.
North Carolina.
Shut your mouth. Nope, don't want to hear it. Shut your mouth.
Yeah. But I'm heading up to Dallas this weekend, so looking forward to that. But yeah, man, I am fucking done applying for jobs. I hate this current market, but Did you see the new 2021 Indians?
No.
You didn't miss anything at all.
Did they fix the seams?
No. They got some colors.
Oh yeah. Indian generally has fucking terrible paint schemes.
Oh, the gold leaf one.
I mean,
Fat Man, I am not riding. I do not ride when I do not have health insurance, because that's when I tend to have accidents. So as a risk professional, that would be really bad.
yeah, it was risky fucking coming home yesterday. That shit sucked.
Yeah. But yeah, they did some paint, little touches here and there, like an all, yeah, but they did a lot last year.
They did a whole lot last year.
So
I mean, well, they've done a lot in the last 2 years. I mean, between the Challenger and the FTR, Indian's done a lot. Well, and then when did they start doing the Dark Horse stuff? See, that was another big change that they made. So I mean, it feels like Indian is trying.
yeah.
And with the exception of the Harley's ADV, the Pan America, and their who knows what's happening with the Bronx.
Yeah.
They haven't done really anything. I mean, they made a CVO trike. Woohoo! They added more paint and whatnot.
Look, if it takes Indian to start pushing Harley to advance faster, cool.
That's what should be happening.
But Harley cannot let Indian leap too far ahead. They need to be neck and neck.
I mean, I hope that shit like the race where first was an Indian, second was a Harley, third was an Indian.
Yeah.
I mean, Harley's first loser, and there were 2 Indians on that podium. And granted, this might not be the fucking, the Indy 500 or whatever of motorcycle races, but still, someone put together that motorcycle out of, using an Indian, and they beat you. And you should feel bad.
So I was actually talking to Tracy, because as soon as I watched the race, I started just having visions of how Indian could capitalize the shit out of this. That's where the whole some come to compete, others come to complete. And
yeah.
And I'm also, I pitched the heritage spot idea of having an older rider, probably a female on a trike, a daughter of that older grandmother, so like a 40-year-old on like a Road King or something, and then having the daughter, like the 18, 19, 20-year-old on a live wire. So if you know 3 females, well, actually, I just need 2 because Tracy can be the daughter, unless, of course, the grandmother is not white, then that might, it's 2020.
That's what adoptions are for.
Yeah. But I'm actually working out the script on the voiceover for that, because I think I have it down, and I think I'm going to just release them on here, but I'm going to do a Harley version and a Honda version. Indian, I'm sorry, you were just dead for too long to matter. But if you had a factory trike, I could probably do it for you as well. Just saying. But
Brandon, he's like a Harley. So hold on, where'd it go?
Right here.
And before that, Cam wrote, Harley equals a 45-year-old man dressing like a 45-year-old man. And I think Brandon was, hits a little better. Oh, Harley equals a 45-year-old man dressing like a 65-year-old man, you mean? I mean, I don't know. I can't say he's wrong. But here's my justification is I just don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah. You know, it's what was that T-shirt that everyone, all the rubs had? Affliction, all
Oh
the
yeah.
stupid like
Oh
$80
yeah.
T-shirt. I'm like, you spent $80 on a T-shirt?
I think I had 2 Affliction shirts, and you know where I actually got them from?
Goodwill?
Ross,
Oh well, yeah,
or was it or Ross or TJ Maxx? One of those where they sell the
wholesalers.
leftovers. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I paid like $10 a piece for them.
I'm just like, God, of all the stuff you could do. Hey, Brendan, I resemble that remark.
Yeah,
37-year-old man dressed like a 65-year-old man. Yeah,
yeah,
accurate.
yeah. If it fits. Oh man. I see Brandon Knott, he was saying that he wants the adjustable windscreens and weather overlays on the maps. I mean, I've ridden several of the Indians and played with the windscreens that move up and down, and it's probably due to my height at 6'4", but it's fucking worthless for me.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's well. What was that bike I was riding? The Chieftain? No,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
the
yeah.
Chieftain Dark Horse. That one
Mhm.
had it on there, and I could actually tell a difference on the highway. You definitely felt a difference on the highway. And let's face it, the aftermarket is catching up. I mean, both Memphis Shades and Clockworks
I'd have, yeah,
have
I would
shield.
have an aftermarket windshield. But see, and then that just kills me right there. Why can't fucking Harley or Indian? Why don't they fucking
Berserker
make their
Nick,
own? Why don't they make their own fucking Memphis Shade style thing and then just sell it as Harley? I'd
Nick,
buy it.
Nick with the freaking mic drop. Harley needs to look at what everyone else is building, just like Willie G did, and get back to building what people want.
You're talking too much sense there, Berserker. You're stop using common sense. Stop it. We can't do that.
Well, okay, so White Mesa, or I'm sorry, Whit Mesa.
White.
Wit. My next bike will be a Chieftain Dark Horse after riding so many different Harleys, Lowrider, Heritage, Street Glide. Interesting.
Yeah, I enjoyed riding the Chieftain. I mean, off the showroom floor, it's a great ride.
Yeah.
I mean,
Even
to
in
see.
demo fashion, it was still good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you can't argue with. I mean, the seat was comfortable for it being stock,
Mhm.
but it comes with fucking Fox suspension, and and that's the cheaper version of the Fox suspension. It's still better than what Harley offers coming off the showroom floor.
Well, I think there's always going to be a camp of people who love Indian, hate Harley, and there's going to be the camp of people who love Harley, hate Indian, and there's going to be everyone else who just doesn't give a shit. I want to ride what I like to ride. And
As you should.
you know, I don't know. I know for a fact my next bike will not be a Harley. And it has nothing to do with anything other than I just want to try a new type of bike. So it probably means it won't be an Indian. I'll probably end up going after a BMW.
Well, that's what you're initially going to get.
Yes, and I ended up with a Street Glide that then turned into a Road Glide that then turned into another Road Glide. But I'm really looking at that BMW. I'm just waiting for BMW's technology to actually catch up to Harley's technology. Right now, their infotainment is subpar compared to Harley's.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that. But then everything else, though. I mean, and for a lot of people, they don't give a shit about the infotainment, like myself.
Yeah. I'm definitely a bagger bro when it comes to infotainment. But I don't know, man. The suspension, the ride quality, all of that. I think Harley, BMW, Indian, Honda, they're all on par with each other with handling and suspension. You're going to maybe get better shocks out of one brand, better lean angle from another. But I think in general, if you just kind of looked at it over the average, I think they're all on par. What do you think? I mean, you and I are in a similar boat. We're both heavyweights and tall.
I mean, yeah, I would say they're all pretty close to each other. But yeah, I mean, there's still some standouts. I mean, when you like Indian, they can throw around the name Fox, and to a lot of people in the car and truck world, Fox is top.
Well, plus you also have all the kids coming up from the dirt bike world where Fox is one of the top brands out there. And I mean,
hell, they had Fox suspension on the Ford Raptors, and one of the first things that Ford did with their Raptors as they rolled it off the line was take it to the Baja.
Yeah.
And run it stock just to prove that they could do it. Now, granted, yes, they had a crew to replace any shocks that they blew, etc. But still, they were doing it, with that stuff. And it just, I feel like they, these companies can do better for their customers.
Toby, I thought you were doing schoolwork. You've been active as hell. Most usually end up getting upgraded suspension, bars, brakes, seats, etc. So what the hell does it matter how it feels off the showroom floor? There you go.
I mean, for us, that's not an untrue statement.
Right.
But for a lot of people, I mean, and really a lot of people, they'll go several years before they jump in on a $500, rear suspension.
I honestly think,
and that's not a whole lot, $500.
But I honestly think, though, it is more around the culture of cruiser customizing that even a brand new rider on their first cruiser, they're probably going to be buying a bunch of accessories and stuff. It's the keeping up with the Joneses. It's matching what you saw in the advert or on TV. I get that, but
most of the people aren't going to do what I did and go throw a couple $1,000 worth of Legend suspension for front and rear
on a brand new motorcycle.
Most people aren't going to do that. They're going to look at I see it on the Harley forum all the time. Everyone's always looking at the progressives because they're better than stock, but they're not freaking Legends.
Well, budget plays a factor in everyone's spending habits. That's somewhere else. Harley is missing the boat, and Indian is actually kind of filling in the gaps with the FTRs and with the Scouts. And Harley, yes, they have the Sportsters, but you're not putting a guy my size on a Sportster. I'm slightly more comfortable on a Scout. Not much, but slightly more. But let's face it, there's a segment of the population that is larger than the norm. Just can't ride these bikes.
Yeah.
And there's nothing there to fill that void. They took away the Dyna, which gives you a little bit bigger frame, gives you the bigger motor, 6 gear and everything. They took that away. So now it's a Softail. But what if I have an $8,000 budget?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at in thinking about, people vote on the brands that they care about with their wallet. And Harley has to see that the motorcycle community in the world, not just America, not just in Europe, but globally, they're voting for another brand.
Mm-hmm.
And Harley needs to figure out why. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't see Indian grabbing up a significant chunk of that younger market. I don't think the younger market is really carrying around the cruiser lifestyle. Because let's face it, younger markets, they care about performance and looks.
Well, and I would also say that the younger folks, when you think of, hey, I'm going to buy me a motorcycle and it's not a crotch rocket, they don't think Indian, they think Harley. And that's just the way it is. I've known about Harley because when I was in high school, an Indian dealership actually opened up in my town. So that was my first experience ever with Indians, and they opened up like 4 doors down from the Harley dealership. But yeah, I mean, even nowadays, I mean, if you were to show a kid, a silhouette of a cruiser style motorcycle and ask them what is it, they're going to say it's a Harley.
Yeah,
and I would say 9 times out of 10.
And then they're going to think automatically that it's $30,000 and it's going to leak oil like a sieve.
And it's going to be slow, and you're going to have to constantly work on it, and so forth and so on.
And you're going to have to deal with a bunch of douchebags.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know. If you
go hop on a CBR, you're going to run into the nicest of people.
Yeah, you meet the nicest people on a Honda, man.
Did you see that Honda has sold over 50 million Cubs?
What? Really?
Remember, it's got a long history.
I mean, yeah, I guess so.
They sold their 50 millionth.
50 million.
Yeah. It's insane. It's like
yeah.
Super Cub or whatever the one that you and I were sitting on taking pictures.
Shit, it's been what, 40 years, 50 years? It was the 70s, I believe.
I don't know. So, but I thought that was cool.
Okay. Well, that does it for me.
After the earnings call yesterday, we're up 23%. There's probably some unique accounting.
So I was going to say, there's some good accounting going on right there.
Again, Harley's buying back all their shares, so they're going to look like they're up. Anyways, look, I know you're about to jump off. Yep. I do have a response to Dan from Gears and Gadgets about the long way up or whatever the hell it's called. Amen. That is terrible. It is just
really
horribly. It's everything that Dan stated on his video. And if y'all haven't, look, I'm not going to link it because I'm not going to remember to, but go over to Gears and Gadgets, check out his news update. He talks about the long way up. All of his points he hit on, I was in the same exact train of thought.
I haven't seen it yet.
And Dan and I actually agree on this stuff. I'm just sorry. Rivian had to do all of the work. There is a couple $1 million worth of production there to make sure nothing happened.
Of course.
And I'm sorry. I think the idea is great and all that, but it's not realistic. It's not an average Joe could do. But if you want to see a cool journey video, Baggers and Brews put out their world record recap. And I think it was the 1 year anniversary or something like that. 45-minute long feature length. Well done. Totally worth going over there and checking their stuff out too. Anyways, that does it for us. Everyone who has stuck around for the entire hour and listening to my incredibly long 2-Wheeled history episode on the date Harley died, I appreciate it. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or down. I'm hoping I did not melt too many of our snowflake audience members out there. We love you. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Peace.